to another episode of Secure the Seat Live. My name is Minda Hartz, and I'm your host. And I'm just so excited that you're here today because you could be anywhere on the internet and you're here with us. So thank you for just showing up and rocking with us every Monday. If this is your first time, welcome. You're already part of the squad. Let us know how your weekend was. Drop that information in the chat. I hope you did something that brought you joy if you're watching us live, and if you're watching the replay of this, tell us anyway, because you still have access to the chat. So we want to make sure that you just engage with the community, because our success is not a solo sport. Want to remind you that currently my latest book, You Are More Than Magic, You Are More Than Magic is out, so you can get that for your kids. But then also Right Within, How to Heal from Racial Trauma in the Workplace, that is available in paperback right now. So if you haven't gotten that, please do. And definitely take your time with that book, because it's a lot different type of read than the memo. This is actually that real deep work in Right Within. But like Lauren said, how you going to win if you ain't right within? So just happy for today. I'm really excited for today's show, because depending on when you started watching the live version of Secure the Seat. So for those who don't know, I started the podcast Secure the Seat that you can listen to wherever you like to listen to your podcast. I started that in 2018. And then during the pandemic, I decided to switch gears and at the height of the pandemic, do a live version of the show on LinkedIn here that you're watching us now. And many of you watch us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube as well. But I got a chance to meet our next guest, Daphne E. Jones, and we had such a great conversation. And we're going to drop that link in the chat too, so that, after you finish with this conversation and you can't get enough, you can go back and listen to that one too. And so it's really a pleasure to have her back on the show, because I know a couple years ago we were talking about her book, and just she has a phenomenal career path. She is her book releases on the 15th. So you know how I feel about pre-order. So we're going to drop that link in the chat, because we support our folks. We make sure that everyone is securing the seat that they need to at the table that they're at. So make sure that you pick up that pre-order right now, because pre-orders matter. The book is win when they say you won't. So you already know the vibe. Okay. You already know what to expect. So make sure that you get that. Again, we'll drop it in the chat for you to cop that as well, and tell others about it. Don't just get it for you. Use it as a book club. Let's just make sure we have representation in all areas. But Daphne has a very robust career experience. She is a speaker. She's an author. She is a former executive. She sits on boards. She's secured the seat, y'all. So I love being able to talk about those experiences. But today we're going to talk a little bit about her career path, but also her latest book. And I have some really important questions around that I know that you all are going to want to know even more. So if you have questions, make sure you drop them in the chat, and we'll get to as many as we can. So without further ado, we're going to bring Daphne E. Jones to the stage. How are you, my friend?
I am really blessed and so happy to see you and follow you. And I look at you as one of my role models. Oh. Even though you're younger than me, you're still a role model.
We are mentoring each other, right?
Yeah, good to see you.
How it goes. So I want to give you your flowers, because thank you for setting the table and sitting at the seats before many of us even got there. So it's your leadership that I get to tap into now. So I just want to say thank you to you.
Thank you.
Yes. And for those who may not know how awesome you are, just tell us a little bit about you, and also like how you get to the seat you're sitting in today, because a lot of people, once they learn out more about you, for those who don't know, they're going to be like, wait a second, I want to mirror some of Daphne's past.
Well, great. And hi, everybody. It's great to be here again, the second time. I'd say, Minda, I made leaps, and they say that if you don't leap, you'll never reach. And so that's kind of how I look at my path and in terms of that. And so I started out as being a secretary. My high school counselor told me that's all I'd ever be, which is nothing wrong with being a secretary, but he gave me limits and he gave me labels and said, this is what you're going to do. So I went from secretary to senior vice president. I've been a corporate officer, a global CIO, board member, and now I'm the CEO of a startup company. But I started in a very small, poor town called Phoenix, Illinois. It's one of the poorest towns in Illinois. My parents were immigrants from Jamaica, so I'm a Yardie. And she told me that, my mom told me that education was everything. But I didn't know anything about, well, what did that education allow for? What does it help me to do? Because everybody around me in the town, we didn't have a post office. We didn't have a grocery store. We didn't have a bank. We just had some liquor stores and some churches. And I guess people got drunk and then they went to church to ask for forgiveness, I guess. And so I didn't know anything about, from a role model standpoint. And so my mom cleaned bedpans, so she was undereducated. My dad was on the factory floor, again, midnight shift, doing assembly work and all that. I was one of 5 siblings, and we had 2-bedroom house and 2 dogs and a cat. But with that said, my mom really encouraged education. And so much where she would say, Daphne, go out to the alley, because we lived off of an alleyway, go on to the alley and get 2 + 4 rocks. And Minda, if I didn't bring back 6 rocks, I'd have to go and get the little switch that was on the willow tree. And so she really focused on that. So I ended up skipping 1st grade. Loved school. I loved to read. Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew was my set of books that I read. And then I just kind of continued through school. I've had racial assault and didn't know anything about a professional assault until much later in my career. But I went through high school, and during my high school junior year, I was wondering where my coach or counselor was, and why doesn't he come to talk to me about going to college? And he was like, well, because Black girls like you don't go to college. They go to secretarial school if you want to go to school, and you become a secretary. And that's exactly what I did. And when you think about the power of the voice that people say to you, or what you say to yourself. And I'm reminded of my husband my husband is 6'4", former basketball player. And I could turn him into a 5'8" person in a minute, just by how I speak to him. And there's such a power in our words. And so I listened to him. I went to Women's Day magazine after I graduated from high school and was a secretary, but I was horrible. I was a lousy secretary, made all kinds of mistakes. And this magazine was run by white men. I'm like, how does a woman's magazine get run by white men? But and that was the beginning of my understanding that there's inconsistencies and incongruencies in life. And I realized that I'm not going to be a secretary, but I should really have a secretary. So I went and said, well, what do I need to do? Well, I need to go to college and kind of follow my classmates. They were already ahead of me because I didn't go in that September timeframe. And but I ended up graduating early. I got my bachelor's degree in 3 years. I got my master's degree in 1. And you might say that the reason I did that is because he told me I couldn't. And so there's nothing like somebody daring me or telling me I can. It's like, watch me work. And I think my whole life has been that way, Minda. It's been that is impossible. And he told me it was impossible, but we've all experienced and seen things that are impossible, like the first female Black Supreme Court justice. That was impossible. Roger Bannister ran the 4-minute mile. That was impossible until he did it. So my new thing is, at that time, became impossible is not impossible. It's really inevitable. It's just a matter of time. If you have it in your mind, and you go after it, you'll be able to do it. So I graduated early. The audio didn't match the video. His audio didn't match the video that was playing out in my life. And I realized that the patterns didn't match. And that was another thing that helped me move on, is that when somebody tells you something, it may not be true. And so you have to own your own narrative. You have to say, what do I believe I'm good at? And through trial and error and watching patterns and watching how people win and how do they get promoted, and what were they dressing like, and what did they do? What were they reading? You see the patterns of what it takes. And unfortunately, they say you have to see it to be it. I didn't have a lot of people that I could see. I was a Black woman in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, because I joined IBM after college. So there was no Black people, in the building almost. There probably were secretaries and a manager here or there, but very, very few people, and no Black women that were there. So I had to learn through trial and error and watching patterns. I've gone from hero to zero, by 2 different managers, even though I was doing the same job. I've been laid off. I've been downsized. I've had to take the glass cliff, as they call it. I've had concrete ceilings that I've had to, try to imagine what's up there, and I can't even see it. So you had to kind of chisel your way through the concrete ceiling. And all because of my skin tone and my gender.
Ooh, let me get my You said a lot of things there, and I know that the squad is watching, taking notes. If you just listening to the little bit that you heard of Daphne, if that doesn't make you want to, like, the spirit move you to go pre-order the book now, when they won't, make sure that you get that in your cart. We're dropping that in the chat. But you said so many things, but I really want to. You said limits and labels, right? And I feel like as women of color, Black and brown women in the workplace, there are so many labels, there are so many limits, right? And the stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves are so important. And so I'm so glad you said that, because there's somebody watching us right now live, or they'll watch us on the replay, and they're allowing the narratives of other people to limit them and label them certain things, right? And
Yes.
what if you would have stayed there? We wouldn't be having these conversations today.
Yeah, I'm the one that got away. Because they the word they is in the title of my book. Who is they? But they are people who are that we think they're in our circle, but they're not really in our corner. They don't believe in us, and so there are theys who didn't want me to make it, and I got away.
I'm so glad you did. That makes me, I hope at some point you'll have some t-shirts, I got away, because some of us just need to get away and get free. So thank you for that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about in your new book, when they say you won't, is you discuss really shifting your mindset, which is a little bit we were talking about, but tell us more about what women of color can do in the workplace when they are constantly faced with this type of opposition. Like, how can they shift that?
Yeah, let me talk about mindset, as you're asking, for sure. But I want everyone to know that, mindset is necessary, but it's not sufficient. Just as my husband's a pastor, and we always say, the good book says that faith without works is dead. And so just having the mindset without putting something towards it is not going to be sufficient. But women of color need to know that opposition is everywhere. I mean, it's in the stock market. When you go long, someone's going short. Right? In the marketplace, competition, wants your market share of your company. In college, we competed and performed academically for professors' favor and their feedback. In the office, somebody wants your seat, right, at the table. So we can't control what happens to us, but we can control how we choose to respond. First and foremost, you can't control what happens, but how you react to it and how you think about it is what will determine it. And your mindset is what determines your actions. And your actions determine your outcomes. So if you want to change the outcomes, you got to change how you think. And so that's where I begin with the mindset. And so we got to play the long game. And it's not to suffer in silence. Ladies and gentlemen who might be watching as well, don't suffer in silence. Don't ask for permission to prosper. See your career as a game board, because it is a game. There are winners. And, we talk about winning, and don't say losing, talk about the lesson as opposed, but there are people who will make it ahead of you and some who will be behind you. So look at the game board and see where your piece is, where you are on that game board. And then think about what you need to do to move forward and put a plan in place to get there. It's knowing that there's competition. And so when I talk about mindset, it's really growth versus fix. And there's a book about it out there. I didn't write it, but it's about a growth mindset. And, as you look at your growth mindset, are you done? Can you do more? Can you learn more? Can you transform more? Can you help people more? So it's a growth mindset that says, I am not done. I have plenty more that I need to be able to do. If the answer is no, then I can't do anymore, then you're done. So whoever has your mind, whatever has your mind has you. So if you can suspend disbelief and don't let your lived experiences tell you can't, you got to be prepared to leap, because we've all fallen down, but we've also gotten up. So you can't let what you used to do be alone what decides what you're going to do. And so that's a part of the mindset. The other part of the mindset is to think like an app or product. And this is what's really different in my book, is a product has a marketplace. Linda, you have a marketplace. A car has a marketplace. My iPhone has a marketplace. People who consume what you offer, that's your market. Your boss, if you all are in corporate America, is your market. That your actual customers are your market. The product has competition. Pepsi has Coke. iPhone has Samsung. You have a competition. So as a product, you have to say, well, what's my value in the product in the marketplace? And I have a price. I'm not free, Minda. You're not free. Every product has a price, and that value that it has needs to match that price. And over time, a product has to improve itself. It continue. The iPhone is at 16.1, I think, right now. Well, it didn't start there. It started at iOS 1.0, and it went to 2 and to 3. So if we think in our mind like a product, we'll say, well, yeah, well, How do I need to approach my marketplace? How do I improve myself? How do I increase my value so that my price, that's called compensation and salary and all that, how does my price go up? And so that's it. And then the last part about mindset is from Sun Tzu. He wrote the book, The Art of War. And he says that the victorious warrior wins and then goes to battle. The losing warrior goes to battle and hopes she wins. And so it's how you approach the problem that is the problem. So when you talk about the opposition, my methodology that's in my book, it's called EDIT, E-D-I-T. It's a 4-step methodology. So we as women can systematically envision what we want to be. That's the E, is envision. We can then create a what I'll call a risk-adjusted plan, which is the design. You design your plan based on what you know the market is doing. You have your strengths, your weaknesses. You look at a SWOT analysis of yourself, right? You create a plan that says, well, what could go wrong? And who are my stakeholders that I need to have in my plan? And then you test your plan. You put it out there. I want to learn how to be a better speaker. I want to get promoted. Well, let me try and take on a new project. And you put that project out there and you start doing that project, and then you get feedback. That feedback is going to be negative information or it'll be positive information. And you don't get mad. You don't quit. You take that information and feedback as data that you will then use to adjust your plan, and you iterate. And that's when we're using the agile methodology, where we test it, we measure it, and we learn. And then we put that feedback back into the plan and say, well, that plan didn't work so well. Let me try a new way. But you don't quit. You don't give up your goal, because your goal is so important that you've got to find a way to win. Hashtag find a way to win. And so whether you're being faced with opposition or whatever, you use that opposition as information, but you have gifts, you have graces, you're smart, you got superpowers. Nobody has what you have. And they hired you, or you created your own company because you have those skills and you have those gifts and you have those graces. And so in thinking about opposition, you can now take what the company uses. The company uses tools to win in the marketplace. We can use tools that the company also uses to win in our marketplace, right? And for our own professional development. So it's the mindset, but then it's actions that you take with your the EDIT methodology to actually put that mindset to work.
I love it. You know, I actually just kept the tambourine up like this. There was no point in putting it down. Listen, right now, if you're on LinkedIn, tag somebody in the chat so that they can hear what Daphne is dropping. I need everybody to pick it up. I need you to do it because this is such an important thing. Like, we need tools in our toolkit so that we can win. And yes, you're going to be faced with opposition at every turn, but it's, you know, do you just let it beat you down, or do you reframe that? And I just love the methodology around that. We can use that in really every aspect of our life. So I hope that people will do that. Another thing you said, I had to write it down because you said, don't ask for permission to prosper. Whew, that'll preach right there.
Yeah,
yeah. So, I love that.
Because you won't get it. You won't get it.
No, I love it. So listen, we're starting the week. Many of you are watching us live here on LinkedIn. Don't ask, don't wait. Don't ask, don't wait for your prosperity to happen. You can control the part of the equation that you can control, and that's what you do. Lastly, I know people are loving this, so I know that they've already gone ahead and pre-ordered your book. It's the playbook. And you talk about in the book some personal setbacks, because, you know, I think sometimes, in all cases, really, storytelling is so important, because sometimes people think that they're the only ones experiencing these things. So can you tell us maybe about a setback that you had and how you went about overcoming that obstacle? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people watching us today, and they're sitting with that thing that happened last Friday, right? Or they're sitting with that thing like, oh, I didn't get the promotion. So just, you know, maybe adding just a little more sauce to how they can overcome that.
Yeah. Well, this is very recent. About a year and almost 2 years ago, January of 2021, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And Minda, you don't even know that, because I don't think I had spoken to you then. I'd already spoken to you. And it was in the middle of me selecting my publisher. So I was going along my merry way. And remember, my EDIT, E-D-I-T, stands for envision, design, iterate, and transform, right? So the whole goal is to transform. So I wanted to transform into being an author. And so I was selecting my publisher. It was good news that I had several that were interested in my book and my story. And I had created my plan. I had envisioned my book journey already. So I had put together a plan. How am I going to make this book come to life? I had a plan of action, and I was in the middle of executing it. So I was in the I for, iterate. and this thing happened to me. And so, after I got up from the floor and stopped crying, I had to do something. I had to adjust my plan. And so I had to go back to my envision, back and say, okay, what is it that I really want to do? Is this book so important that I should keep going, or how do I deal with this cancer situation? And I had already risk adjusted, for what could go wrong with my plans. Like maybe I wouldn't have enough money to do the book, or I would have too much work, load to do. So I wouldn't, or the publishers may not want my book. I had already thought about some things that could go wrong, but breast cancer, nah, not so much. I never thought that would be a thing. And so I didn't risk adjust. So I had to go back and decide what to do. I said, I am going to finish this book. But I had to pivot a little bit, because you just don't like tell breast cancer, see you later, I'm gonna deal with you in about 4 years. No. So I had to pivot and then get it taken care of. And it was very small, thank goodness. One of the things I talk about in my book is the 5 F's. And in any one of these F's, if you don't take care of them, can hurt you. And one of the F's is fitness. It's your faith, it's your family, it's your fitness, it's your finances, and it's your furthering your career. So I have always been going to the doctor. It's breast cancer month when we were doing this recording now. And thank goodness I always took care of my health. So it was small, and I had the surgery. I had 3 surgeries. Unfortunately, it was so tiny. They had to use the microscope to be able to get all the edges. And went through radiation, 15 days of radiation. And so my plans of actions changed, but I went through it. And I said, the goal of writing a book, the goal of sending this message out is so much more important than my pain that I'm suffering of the cancer. I'm not going to put the book down for long. And I put it down for not even a week or 2. I was interviewing publishers when I had just had my second surgery. It was incredible. So that's how I overcome. My mind said, I got to do it. The goal was greater than the setback. And women need to hear my message.
Absolutely. And I did not know that. And I'm just so thankful that you're here with us, and that you have a story to tell that we get to hear, and a book we get to read. And that's such a blessing. And just want to remind everyone that I know October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but every month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So make sure that you're going to get your mammograms. Tell the people you love to do that too. Early detection is important. And so we want to make sure, I know some of us get scared because when you get up on that age, or you have to get that annual thing, but make sure that you are taking care of that F that Daphne mentioned.
That's right. And thank God it's stage 0, and it's in the last chapter in my book.
Okay, that's great. That does my heart good. I'm glad that you are here to keep doing God's work. So thankful for your voice, and I could talk to you all day long, but we're toward the end of the show. But I have to say, final thing, where can people find you, book you, hire you, all the things?
Well, my website is DaphneEJones.com. So www.DaphneEJones.com. And you can order the book through there as well. And that's how you can find me.
Okay, make sure that you order it. We're dropping it in the chat again. Get the book. And we're also going to let you know, if you need more of Daphne, you can go listen to when we had our conversation. Don't look at my hair, because we were in the pandemic back then. Times were tough. Couldn't just trying to figure out that live stream stuff.
We are so hard on ourselves, and you are amazing. No matter you could be bald headed and you'd be gorgeous.
But the conversation was very beautiful and rich. So make sure you go back and listen to it. I have to ask you, Daphne, I'm a lover of grits and rap lyrics, but what is your favorite rap lyric and why? I know you got some bars.
Yeah, it's still Heavy D. I mean, I listen to him literally every day when I work out 5 days a week roughly, and I listen to him every day. And it's we got our own thing. And so, he says, in this life, I strive for improvement. Be your own guide, follow your own movement. Then he says, love is a legend, I'm legendary. And flipping on the mic makes me a rapping acrobat. Don't try to swing because you couldn't even hang. But then he says, don't clock anybody, let them all clock you. Don't be down with anybody, let them all be down with you. Stay self-managed, self-kept, self-taught. Be your own man, don't be borrowed, don't be bought. Of course, he started with a power, he gonna end it with a bang. He got his own thing. So it's about listening to your own narrative, knowing that people don't know you. God knows you. God created you. And how you respond to situations is really up to you and not up to anybody else.
Oof, oof, oof. Yes, this is just the conversation that we all, including myself, we all needed to get the week going. So make sure you listen to it again. Things hit differently after you've heard it a few times too, but definitely pick up the book. And then lastly, everybody watching is a leader. what would you tell our leaders, one piece of advice on how to make the workplace better than they found it?
I would say assimilation versus authenticity. Those are things that people in the minority are struggling with. Do I assimilate so I can try to be like everybody else, even though I'm not? Or do I be authentic, and can the workplace handle my authenticity? Representing my culture. We've been asked to drop our mics, lower our voice, dilute our culture, and which dilutes our effectiveness and our impact in the workforce. So I would say whoever has the ability to, as leaders, understand what minorities may be going through and have the environment be such that that they don't have to choose between being authentic and assimilating.
Mic drop. You mean, you've hit us with all the bars, the whole entire show. Daphne, I appreciate you more than you will ever know. I thank you for how you show up. I'm excited about your new book. Wishing you nothing but health and blessings to you and yours. And everybody go pick up when they say you won't, when you can't, when they don't think you can.
Right. Show them, watch, have them watch you work.
Watch me work. So thank you so much for being with us, and you are welcome back anytime. So we'll see you soon.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Minda.
Wow, that was so good. I hope that you all tag as many people as you can, like blow up LinkedIn by all the tags, okay? Because people need to A, get the book, but B, hear what Daphne has to say, because she has so many gems and so much experience. And if you're in STEM, also, there's a lot there too. So make sure that you grab that. It's a new month for us. And so I'm going to bring Mike up to do our affirmations before we head out. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
What's up, Minda? How you doing?
Ooh, wasn't that great?
Man, I'm full. I'm straight.
I should have just kept doing like this the whole entire time, but I didn't want to drown out all the good words that you used to say. But what is, and I'm still like, normally I don't write during the show, but I was like jotting things down because I'm like, these are things I need to put up around my house to remind me of some things. But where are we this month? I can't believe we're in November.
It's crazy. This year shot by fast, but we've this year we take the good and the bad, right? We've learned a lot of lessons. And our November affirmation is, this is only making me wiser. So whatever you're going through, you have to kind of turn it around and flip it. At the end of the year, we sometimes reflect on a lot of different things, and we make a bunch of promises. And January comes, we try to make good on those promises, and we do the best we can. But we're super critical, of people we don't like. We're super critical of ourselves, and we're super critical of all these different things. But we have to turn everything around and understand that this is only making me wiser. So the mistakes you made, it's only making you wiser. When people made mistakes against you, it's only making you wiser. Whatever you're going through right now, it's only making you wiser. A lot of people look back at their life and say, man, I wish I would have saved this amount of money, or I wish I would have went to this school, or I wish I would have done this. But if you wouldn't have followed the path you're on, you wouldn't have learned all these lessons. So there's always a blessing in the midst of, yes, some of these things are mistakes. Some of these things are failures. Some of these things are problems. People have done you wrong. You have done others wrong. You haven't been the best friend, or maybe you've been a great friend and others haven't been that great friend or family member to you, but it's only making you better. It's only making you stronger. It's only making you wiser. The path that you're put on is put on by God. Just embrace it and you'll be fine. It's only making you wiser. Thanks, man.
It's only making us wiser. I needed that for myself this week, because was looking at some decisions I made. I'm like, I shouldn't. And like, it is making me wiser. It's informed me. It's information gathering, right? I've been seeing so many people going to HBCU homecomings. I'm like, man, why did I go to a PWI? I should have gone to, I was like, it's only making me wiser. So I told one of my friends, they got to take me to a HBCU homecoming next year. But, I'm being a little facetious, but it's all of those things make us wiser. And so I hope you will shift your mindset. We've said it before on the show, your mindset has to match your manifestation. It's not just to change the way you think, but what Daphne mentioned it, your actions, they have to align. And so it's November. Think about all the months that came before it. What can you take into November that brings the wisdom, right? So that the next day, you're just growing. It's all about the growth. And so thank you for this month's affirmation. Listen, we're nearing down, but there's still a lot left. All gas, no break. We appreciate you. Be kind to yourself and keep securing your seat. We'll see you next Monday.